Let's do a very special mock draft today. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be doing a very special mock draft because today's focus is going to be on players that, in my opinion, elevated themselves at the Combine. The Combine is such an incredible tool for the draft season because it helps either reinforce some of the things that we already know about some players, their athleticism, their ability to explode off the line, and different things like that. But also it can reveal things about players that we may not have known because of the scheme and the systems that they were in. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So let's hop right into it. We use the PFF mock draft simulator because I find that it's the best. So 2 pieces of housekeeping. First, I obviously had to force the trade between the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets because for some reason the PFF hasn't done that so that we can get a hold of our pick at 114. But also, I had to give away our 6th, 7th round pick to 26, the one that we gave to the Baltimore Ravens for Chuck Clark. So when you look at the whole thing, you're going to see those 2 trades as forced trades, but that's just so that we can get the proper number of picks that the New York Jets have in this draft. But at every mock draft, because I think that this is legitimately what the New York Jets want to do, and if it's possible, I'm always going to do it, is I traded back from 10 to 14 with the New Orleans Saints, and I got pick 45 in return. I tried to get other things in return. It just didn't really find the value, and that's not the point. It's not about creating the best trade. I wanted a 2nd round pick. I wanted to talk about some of these players in the 2nd round, and that's what we're going to do. So the first player that I have to talk about really impressed me was Jackson Powers-Johnson, the offensive center from Oregon. Now, I know what you're thinking. We have Joe Tippmann, but Joe Tippmann's flexibility to be able to play guard really would help the New York Jets and convince them into making a pick like Jackson Powers-Johnson, who on tape was already one of the best prospects we've ever seen. But when you take into consideration that he got hurt at the Senior Bowl and decided to, you know what, I'm going to rest, I'm going to recover, I'm going to do my things right, pulled himself out of the Senior Bowl. Also, when needed, he took defensive line reps at Oregon to help his team out during the bowl game. The guy's just a team-first guy. But then to come to this, to get hurt at the Senior Bowl, to come to the Combine and to still work out and do a vertical and a broad jump was insane. And it really showed the explosiveness that he has in his lower half. He would be an asset to any team that gets him, and I love me some JPJ, so we have to talk about it. And with our newly acquired 2nd round pick, it's a channel favorite, but this is a guy who I think elevated his stock at the draft Combine, and that is Chris Jenkins, the interior defensive line out of Michigan. The New York Jets have a need at interior defensive line, and the 2nd round seems to be the sweet spot for these interior defensive linemen. And the last time we had a Chris Jenkins on the team, it worked out really well for us. And why not get another guy who's just insane? He scored a 9.55 unofficial RAS score at the Combine. Just absolutely insane. He ran a 4.91 40-yard dash, a 2.84 20-yard split, a 1.69 10-yard split, had a relatively okay vertical jump at 30 inches, but man, the broad jump was just insane. Just showing the explosiveness that he has and just the strength in his lower half. Partnering that with Quinnen Williams would just be a sight to behold for the New York Jets if you could pull something like that off. And that's why I took him here in this position. And then we go into the 3rd round, and I took one of the guys that I used to be a big fan of and used to be one of my draft darlings until I moved off of him because of what was a disappointing Senior Bowl performance has been reinvigorated because of just how good he did at the Senior Bowl, and that's Xavier Leggett, the wide receiver out of South Carolina. He posted one of the highest RAS scores for wide receivers in this draft with a 9.92 unofficial RAS score, running a 4.39 40, a 1.54 10-yard split, a 40 in the vertical, a 10 feet and 6 inches in the broad jump. The guy is just explosive, and that is one of the things that we really wanted to see from him. We knew about his speed, we knew about these things, but to see the numbers backing that up was just a really, really good thing for us to all see from Xavier Leggett. Really, really important in my opinion. The other thing, and I'm trying to pull up the stats right now, was all of the, agility drills that he didn't do a 3-cone, which I was really interested. I really wanted to see him do the 3-cone and the shuttle because I wanted to see how his movement from side to side was to try to dissect his route running ability, which is something that we did not get to see from him at South Carolina. And it's one of the biggest concerns going into the NFL draft is how is his route running ability. He ran 3 routes at South Carolina, and they were all basically go balls. Go deep into the left, go straight, and go deep into the right? It was a seam, it was a fade, like that was it. I would love to see him do the 3-cone because 3-cone is a great indicator of agility and the ability to cut and run routes, and we didn't get to see that. But Xavier Leggett did an incredible job posting a insanely high RAS score, and we know how much Joe Douglas loves RAS score. Moving on, we stick at wide receiver because, well, we need 2, and I went with Cornelius Johnson, the wide receiver out of Michigan. Another Michigan player being taken here, and another guy who posted an insanely high RAS score, a 9.89 unofficial RAS score, which is just insane. Hitting green marks in everything, in size, in weight, in the vertical, in the broad jump, the 40-yard dash. He ran a 4.44. And Cornelius is in a different kind of, space when you look at Xavier Leggett and Cornelius Johnson. They kind of fit very similar-ish molds, but Cornelius provides a different skill set and route running ability than Xavier Leggett. Xavier Leggett really just has strength and speed right now, but I did want to talk about Cornelius Johnson because he is a name that you're not hearing from a lot of other creators. You're not hearing being linked to the New York Jets, but if the New York Jets decided to not take a wide receiver in round 3, to not take a wide receiver in rounds 1 or 2, and maybe wait until day 3 to go and get a wide receiver, I would not be surprised if a guy like Cornelius Johnson's name comes up because of how athletic he is and the skill set that he would provide, contrasting that to what we have on the team and guys like, Irvin Charles and Jason Brownlee and Xavier Gibson, and more importantly, Garrett Wilson, right? He provides a different skill set that we just don't have in both of them, Xavier Leggett and Cornelius Johnson. And we probably need 2 wide receivers, so I took 2 of them. Now, moving on with our other 4th-round pick, I went and took a running back, Isaac Guerendo, out of Louisville. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, the New York Jets probably blah, blah, blah. Look, remember, the point of this draft is to talk about players. The New York Jets have a need at running back. We have 2 under contract right now. It's Breece Hall and it's Israel Abanikanda. And while I love both of those guys, we could definitely support that room in a big way to make sure that we're not killing our guys. And you could go much, 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 much worse than Isaac Guerendo, who absolutely lit it up at the combine, ran every drill, did everything except for the bench because I don't care about the bench for running backs, but 6 foot, 221 pounds, 41.5 inch vertical, 10 foot 9 inch broad jump, 415 20-yard shuffle, 6.943 cone, and a 4.33 40-yard dash. Just insane. He posted up a 9.98 RAS, RAS score, which is just crazy. He graded out as one of the better athletes at the combine at his position, ever. Now, does that overcome some of the things that we saw on tape? No. He still has some inabilities in his game right now, but the biggest thing that I learned from watching the combine and then moving that into the tape is that Isaac's inabilities in the game are all mental. They're not physical. There's nothing limiting him physically. He's an insane athlete. He would come onto the New York Jets and be the best athlete on the team day one, period. There's no question about it. So everything about him when it comes to the struggles or the lack of production or whatever it is that you want to point at when it comes to his play is all about either the coaching scheme that he was used in or the mental side of it. Maybe he wasn't getting it. Maybe he wasn't seeing the field. And those are things that you can work on. And those are things that you can help develop. And again, we need a running back. And this might be a little high to go and get a running back. But when you get a guy who's this athletic, available in the 4th round, you can't pass up on it. And so I didn't. Now, the New York Jets don't have a 5th round pick. And this is the trade where I forced our 5th round pick to the Broncos, but we do have a 6th round pick, and I went with center Tanner Bartolini. Boy, I don't think he's going to go in the 6th round anymore after what we saw at the Combine. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Tanner Bartolini and why I drafted another center, Tanner Bartolini was Joe Tippmann's teammate last year, and he actually played left guard almost all of last year while Joe Tippmann was playing center. While that being said, he moved to center this year and was just insane at the Combine. Now, there are definitely limitations on his tape, and Bartolini could definitely come in and be a backup guard or even push for one of the starting guard spots if AVT does end up playing tackle. But every single, he ran his drills and looked insanely fast. He posted up a 9.78 RAS score. He had good arm length for an interior guy, a 4.94 40-yard dash, which is just crazy, a 7.16 three-cone shuttle, which is just, dude, that's wide receiver numbers when it comes to just change, like, the guy's an insane athlete, just an insane athlete. And that's not something that we really got to see on his tape at Wisconsin last year. And so, again, if you're going to take a flyer on a guy who's kind of an athlete and can, play a system relatively well, you can do a lot worse than Tanner Bartolini. And bringing him in to be a backup and to maybe in the future take a starting job from a guy is just something that you really can't pass up on. And here's the thing, JPJ and Joe Tippmann both have center guard flexibility. If you find that Tanner's skill set fits best at center, you can move JPJ to guard and still, again, JPJ should be a center. Joe Tippmann should also relatively be a center. But their flexibility is a benefit to the New York Jets because we can move them around on the interior and just put our best 5 guys out there. And bringing in a guy like Tanner Bartolini to compete would just be incredible. Now we go into the 7th round, and we're just going to take flyers on guys. And the first one was Myles Cole out of Texas. Wow, I did not expect, one, because I didn't really scout Myles Cole until after the Combine, but he ran a 4.69 40, which is just crazy, crazy fast. Really explosive in the vertical jump and in the broad jump, showing a lot of strength in his lower half. Really good 10-yard split in a 1.66. Not really good, but good enough 10-yard split with a 1.66. Again, just some really good athletic traits that you can bank on. And if you're going to trust any unit on the New York Jets coaching staff to develop any type of player, it's probably going to be on the defensive line room. And taking a guy who's just an insane athlete like Myles Cole in the 7th round, you could do a lot worse. But we're not going to spend too much time in the 7th. We keep it going. We keep it going in the 7th round with safety Keydon Oladapo. He did okay. The real thing that you like about him is his size. And like weight and the things that he did relatively well. Ran a good enough 40 time, 4.58, which isn't world beating and it isn't horrible. And in the 7th round, when you're getting a safety, you just kind of want them to be an athlete, and that's exactly kind of what he showed. at the combine was that. And then with the last pick in the draft, feel like it's honorary for us to take a quarterback, so I did. I took Devin Leary, the quarterback out of Kentucky. Now, Devin didn't really do any of the workouts. He just went there to throw the ball, which is a smart move on Devin Leary's part. And it's interesting because he kind of answered some of his, like, you know, ability and accuracy questions that we have from him coming out of Kentucky. Do I expect him to turn into something? No, not at all. But I took a quarterback because, what if we find out Brock Purdy or anything like that? But that's it. Let me know what you guys think of this draft. What do you think of these players? Who are your favorite players who really elevated their stock at the combine? I'd love to hear it. PFF gave me a B- grade for this draft, and I kind of get it. I drafted a lot of players higher than what their projection is a little bit. And guys like Cornelius Johnson and Isaac Guerendo and Tanner Bartolini and stuff like that. And they obviously see that we don't need a center because, well, we have Joe Tippmann, but he can play guard, and so can Jackson Powers-Johnson, if we're being honest. But again, let me know in the comment section below, who are your favorite players to watch at the combine? And last but not least, go Jets.